Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday. It's time for the weekend review. And after last week, we should all be sitting like a fat cat. So today, I'm in my robe, sitting around like Hugh Hefner, just enjoying the afternoon. So let's get right into it. I hope you guys all had a fantastic weekend, and I'm really looking forward to this week. We have FOMC coming up, and we are so close to all-time highs, we can almost taste it. So I'm going to do things a little differently today because I want to look at SPX and VIX first before we transition into ES. I did do a post on SPX over the weekend. I'll include it in this post as well, but you should definitely check it out. There is some discrepancies here, which is one reason why I want to talk about both. Obviously, SPX is our lead, as it is the true indice, and ES is a derivative. However, as much as I'd like to say there's conflicting information, I don't know if that's the right word, but certainly we seem a lot more, the conviction is a lot higher on SPX. So let's get right into it, okay? So here we are with SPX, and as you can see, we have been marching up, and last week we sealed a nice gain above the weekly leg at 68.45, essentially doing what I call a step one gain, which would, be a high probability that we're going to make a new all-time high. Then we cemented again another firm close above last week. Plenty above this, which is again leading me to a much more bullish stance, assuming that we will still make all-time highs. One of the things I wanted to show you guys, which was interesting, is, and we talked about this a couple weeks ago, this was the leg they needed to hold. They swept the new low, but never lost. Okay, they never closed below. So all they did was grab some liquidity and go, which means we've never lost on the weekly time frame. So with that being said, and now we're closing above here, I'm fairly confident we have new all-time highs within our reach. However, we don't want to be too cocky about it. We never know what's going to happen. So let's go ahead and just get into the levels with SPX. And I don't want to focus on SPX today, but I do want to talk about it, and there's a reason why. Actually, let me go ahead and when we start talking about the ES, you'll understand, okay? So again, I showed you this is the weekly that we closed above twice, the 68.45. This is our daily leg down to the lows right here. This is the 68.67.77. This took us all the way down. On Friday, we closed above it, essentially cementing our official gain on this leg down. This was a huge milestone on Friday, which, is just more bullishness. So with that being said, let's get into the smaller time frame. I'll show you the levels that I'm looking at, and then we'll go into ES and show you a few things there. Actually, we're going to talk about VIX next, but so if we pull, so right now the 68, 67, 77, this is our pivot for above or below, guys. This is not something I'm looking to just, buy essentially, but this is an area that I'm looking to use as above or below, okay? So if we get above 68, 67, I'm looking for some continuation higher up into the highest tested daily, of 69.10.95. We actually have nothing untested now above, period above us. So we are free to make new all-time highs on ES or SPX pretty much whenever. So I am looking for a pullback, however. My first buy zone right here is this nice daily, weekly 4-hour level, 68.49 through 68.45. They actually played this exact spot in Globex on ES pre-market, and it launched us up super far. However, SPX is still very much untested, and we're going to get into my theory or philosophy on that in ES shortly. However, if we move below this, we're going to look for 68.15 to hold, as it's in confluence with the 68.12 daily. And if this holds, we obviously want to see progression back above 68.20 initially, to no buyers are in the house, but we need to get back above this big weekly daily area. And anytime we're going to move below this, it's going to be an issue, guys. So just keep this area in mind as we traverse. But if they do in fact move below the 68.12, which is clearly the support that's holding this structure up, right? So if they do in fact move below that, we have the 67.96.29 daily, which actually never got tested. Okay, so the way I'm looking at this level right now is I want to see this, if we come down here, I want to see this play and basically find buyers back above 6,800, and then ultimately get our continuation above the 68.15, and this could squeeze pretty good, at least back to 68.49.45 area. Okay, now if they do push below here, be aware it is possible, especially with FOMC coming this week. we do have this massive top down daily, which was the top of our leg down that we gained, I think a week ago. And we have a nice 4-hour structure here that I really like. And I'm sorry, this is the daily leg down right here, the 37. So I'll show you where these are coming from. That's the 29. This is our previous all-time high right here, which I really like, this 67.60. We had the daily and the 4-hour there. And then this is the daily leg that we gained on the move up at 67.37.93. So all this is buyable. However, once we start to get underneath 45 momentum shifts, this is really our big significant level here for us to remain above or below. And really, you know, I don't want to say the buyers lose control, because that's not true. They just lose the momentum. Okay, so, and obviously the more we get below things, the more we have to regain. But this spot right here, the 67.37.93 spot, 67.33.96, this is an awesome spot if we dip down really low. Other than that, I like the 67.60, but I really want to see 68.49 area kind of hold it together. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just go into a 1 hour and show you what it looks like, so you can get an idea of what we're talking about here. So there you go. So 68.49 looks great. 68.49.45. Pull back into 15. We need to get back above this area. Ultimately, this 67.96 could sweep, regain 67.15. Worst case scenario, we come down here in the 64 or even 67.33 area. All right, so that's what I got for SPX. I wanted to show you this because the reason the significant difference is, you know, we gained on the weekly with SPX, okay? We didn't on ES. But again, we never lost support on that particular time frame, so it's not a huge concern of mine. But I just like to have the feeling of like, okay, we did it again, cool, let's go. And ES has not given us that. ES did gain on the daily time frame, but it didn't gain the daily leg down. So let's get into that soon. Let's take a look at VIX real quick. So VIX is another one that you guys know that I'm constantly monitoring. Look at this thing. This thing is just getting its head beat in, okay? But please keep in mind that every time we get down here, we do get a pop in one way, shape, or form. And because we are relative low volume, as we've been pushing up for the past 2 weeks in ES, we have extremely low volatility. Anytime we get in this $15 handle, this thing seems to pop. And when it pops, the ES or SPX, whatever you want to call it, just gets smoked. And it gets smoked fast, and it just shreds levels, 100, 200 points straight down, and then we grind up as they sell this back. So I just want you guys to be aware that we are starting to get really, really far down here where we could soon expect another pop, which would likely cause the indices to come down. My area that I'm watching right now is this weekly at 1573. This is this leg to the high. It's going to be very important to get above or below this. Right now we are below it, and my assumption is that we come down, but we do need to watch that we have an untested daily at 1493. If this holds, this could pop us back up, and there's really no telling where this could go. We're just going to have to walk our levels up. So as you can see, the 1573 is our big weekly, is our big weekly pivot to be above below. Then we have this daily at 1721. And then again, it's tested, but it's very important. Look how many times we played it. The same applies for the 1860, right? So we can, you know, we don't have anything untested if they really want to pop this VIX and push the ES down, which might come with FOMC. They could juke this a little bit. We'll see. But my first untested level is the 1592 daily right here. So if this 1592 daily plays, we need to see it immediately get back underneath 1860 for a continuation down. Or if they accept value up here, we could come all the way into the untested monthly at 2241, which my assumption would be our ceiling for now, as this is an extremely untested major time frame level that I would be looking for a reaction. So this is our big pivot area, guys. On the high side, let's just call it 19 bucks. And with 1950 being our resistance, and they need to get back below 1860 for continuation down. Our first level of untested support is 1493. 1573 is our weekly big pivot, and we need to watch the above or below at our daily at 1721 and 1860. So that's VIX, and I wanted to point this out to you because, again, like I said, we're grinding higher. We have some serious news events coming up this week. We are within a stone's throw of all-time high. They continue to grind terribly slow and painful. We've already seen what happens when just a little news event can spark some uncertainty. Like last week, we had Microsoft say something about AI and it dumped the market 50 points instantly. Boom, it was gone, right? And then they bought it all back up. But it was just to show you how quick this can happen. And a lot of that has to do with how low volatility is, okay, and how low our relative volume is. We don't have a lot of participants in the market right now. This is not really what I would consider a true value buy here, right? As day traders, we're trying to grab the continuation with trend to move this up, but this isn't like a generational buy by any means, okay? So especially after we moved up 350 points, we're kind of basing sideways, grinding higher. And so, you know, we're just looking for areas of support to buy and ride up. And with that being said, with, you know, lack of market participants and VIX the way it is, anything can jump off. So right now I'm still pointing higher. I'm still looking for more up. And so let's go ahead and get into the ES now that we've talked about SPX. So as usual, I start with the weekly TPO, as you guys know. This is all last week. We just sat in a huge balance area. As they continue to move higher, we even closed outside of last week's value area, which was a huge move, and above last week's range again, and look, even above the 11.2 point of control. So we have a very large bullish imbalance that we've been talking about for the past 2 weeks that takes us all the way up to 96.36, which is certainly on our radar right now. This is not quite all-time highs, but it is, you know, it's getting up there, right? And so we have no reason to believe that this can't get hit right now. We do have a spot here that I noticed, a really low volume area here, you know, a nice little node, I guess you could call it a low volume node in this October 26 weekly TPO. So it's 69.21. We need to watch this area as we continue our push higher. More than likely, if I'm already long, this will be a profit-taking area for me, okay, as I'm trying to get to the 36. So it's pretty clear what we're doing here. We pushed up, we balanced, we're accepting value, we're going to the next range. One of the things I want to show you, which we've talked about just as a word of caution, is you can see we clearly have some market inefficiencies lower. We have weekly singles all the way down to 67.84, which is a weekly, untested weekly level for us to buy. It would make perfect sense for me for them to come down here and clean this area up, as this is a huge market inefficiency that at some point will get cleaned up. We just don't know when, right? So, you know, we obviously know it's there, but right now we're trending up, and so I don't have a whole lot of reason to be like, oh yeah, like this is coming down, this is where we're going to get to. So I'm just letting you know what's happening here, and you know, areas that you should like keep really kind of monitor and keep in mind. You know, I am really looking for this thing to continue to stay above the previous weekly value area high, which we'll talk about at 68.70. A lot of you guys know last week 68.72 was a massive level that we had trouble getting above, and then we had trouble getting, you know, now we're trying to stay above, or we had trouble getting above it, and now we don't want to get below it. But if it does happen, we do have the weekly point of control at 68.51, and I'm pointing all this out to you because this is going to come important when I get down to the lower time frame. Okay, so that's where we'll go for now with the profile. All right, so as you can see here on this weekly time frame, we still haven't gained. We really needed to get above 83, and we haven't. The only reason I'm not overly concerned is, one, SPX has proven to us that we've gained on the daily, which again, ES did not. They did not close above 91. Now, we've gained on the daily time frame, we just didn't gain the leg down, and so we didn't close on the weekly, we didn't close on the daily on ES. And this is essentially what I was getting into when I first came on and said, hey, listen, this looks a little different. Clearly, we're still moving up, but you know, the support that we got above, etc., looks different for SPX versus ES. Now, we didn't lose on the weekly, so I'm not really overly concerned about, you know, the ES not gaining and SPX doing so. And at the end of the day, I'm always riding with what SPX tells me over ES anyway, because as we all should, as it's the real index, not the derivative. Okay, so you know, 83 is going to be a big pivot for us to get above below, and ultimately the 91 daily that we need to get above and close above just for more strength. Okay, one of the things I do want to point out to you guys that was really interesting when I was doing these comparisons, and I'm just going to go ahead and pull this over. I don't have much for untested high time frame support on ES. I literally have no untested daily levels, as you can see, until we get down to 67, 65. Whereas SPX actually gives us a lot more levels to look at. We have the daily at 68.49, which we'll show you here very, very shortly. And then we've got the 68.15, which is also untested as well. So kind of interesting. And then we have this daily at 67.96 that actually did get tested on ES but didn't get tested on SPX. And then obviously this is the 67.60 is our 67.65. The 67.37 down here is our 67.23. So, you know, or maybe I did that wrong. Maybe it's, yeah. So anyways, what I'm saying is we don't have a lot of untested support on ES in this particular section, whereas SPX is really kind of a lot more clear on areas that we can buy, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and pull over the 4 hour. Let's go ahead and take a look. And I'm just going to hide these other lines, and you can see what I'm getting at. I don't have anything untested here to buy. I have 68.64 on the 4 hour. That's it, right? So I'm actually going to be looking a lot lower at some lower time frames, and I'm going to go ahead and pull this up so that you guys understand kind of what I'm looking at here. I've got 2 weekly levels that actually they're the same levels. They're daily levels as well. The daily levels are tested already. The weekly levels are not. I mean, when I say that they're the same, I mean they are exactly the same price point. So I am looking at 68.72 and 68.57 for areas of support, okay? And more so 57 than 72, and I'll show you why here very soon, okay? So, because technically right now, those are untested, you know, at that point. So just to show you what I'm looking at here though, is right now, this is literally our only untested area on the 4 hour time frame. And here is the 57.25, which you can see this little gray guy here. It's also a daily, but again, it's very much tested. They tested it right here. What was that, Friday? So I do think it can play again, okay? And I'm gonna show you why. We're gonna go down to the 1 hour. We got the weekly point of control here. We got monthly VWAP kind of creeping in for us. And so I've got a couple trades that I'm really gonna be watching, but I just wanna emphasize, this is, you know, we're gonna have to use SPX as a guide here, guys, because ES is looking a little thin as far as support. And what I'm looking at is playing monthly levels basically in some 1 hours and really kind of relying on the reclaim scenarios. And so let's go ahead and take it down to the 1 hour, because this 4 hour is not a whole lot of help to us, you know, from untested support perspective, unless we start to sweep stuff or get down into these areas here. So I'm going to go ahead and pull over the 1 hour and let's just kind of get into it. One of the things I wanted to show you, because we're getting ready to talk about it right now, is we have a naked point of control down here at 68.58. This is 2 profiles I put together because they were overlapping. So the actual point of control was at 58, the composite's at 59. Keep that level in mind. This is going to come into play right now. Okay, so let me go ahead and pull up my 1 hour here. All right, so check this out. I mean, just looking at this, right, it's pretty obvious that we're moving up. Higher highs, lower lows. So I'm not like freaking out because I don't have anything untested to play, but it certainly makes our life a little bit more difficult. And so what I'm going to be looking at are a couple different things, okay? One, this 4 hour here is still untested, 64. We had a nice solid close above here, which gives me some confidence that this level could potentially play. So if they end up coming down here and sweeping these lows at 66.50, right, they could pull back into 64, which is a 4 hour and a 1 hour level, reclaim this and still, you know, move up fairly. Oop, hang on. Come down here, reclaim this, and move up pretty decent, okay? The other end of the spectrum here, okay, is if they do not do that, or maybe they do it and it's just not enough to kind of give us the oomph that we're looking for. But keep in mind, we got that previous weekly value area high here. This is a good area. If the 72 is, obviously, as you can see, we bumped our head a lot, and now it's kind of support. And so if we play this, we want to see them get back above this for our move, okay? The other end of the spectrum here is 55.50. Now, this is just a 1 hour level, but we've got that naked point of control that I pointed out to you at 58. which is right here, is 57.25. This is the monthly as well that I pointed out to you. And directly below that is a 1 hour level at 55.50. The monthly VWAV is creeping up, and we got the previous week's POC. What I truly think could happen, and this is just speculation because we never know until it happens, right? But I do believe that this 57.25 weekly or even the 55, I believe they could come down and they could either play this or sweep it and reclaim and start to get above 64 and go. I think that is a very, very plausible scenario. And just because from an untested support perspective, that's what I'm looking at. If you've got a 64, I got 57, 55. So I'm looking at these areas really hard, right? So especially because in my opinion, we're coming for a new all-time high. So I'm kind of grasping for something that I can hold on to. And I like this play, especially if it comes into 55 and gets back above 57 monthly. It's like, let's buy, right? And the same applies for the 64. Come play 64, get back above 66, 72, etc. We just hit the buy button. We let it go, okay? Now, worst case, none of that shit plays. We come down here. I have another 1 hour. Again, 1 hours are not my favorite. You guys know that. But we have the previous weekly value area low down here as well, which is extremely significant. And just to show you guys right here, that's the value area high, and that's the point of control. Literally, this is last week's range. We sat in here all last week, okay? So very tight range last week. Hope you guys realize that. So with that being said, if we do move down below 55, we could sweep Thursday's low, okay, and play the 32.75, and we want to see them get right back above this wick right here, which I guess, what is that wick? Looks like about 30, let me just find out, hang on, I'm sorry, I should have had it marked, 36.25. So if they come down here, you want to see 32.75 play, get back above 36. We buy. We take profits around 55. We start to regain 55. We buy again, and we start the whole cycle over again. So that's what I have in this last week's range, okay? If that doesn't work, then my last little spot is all the way down here at 08.75, which is possible. It is possible. And again, this is where we get, underneath the 13.50 daily, but we're still being held up by our 68.05.50, which you guys know has been an absolute monster. I mean, this is the level that has literally, and again, we were just talking about, this is the previous all-time high leg down. We've played this level many times, guys, many times. And so this is where shit gets real if we get underneath that. We really don't want to get underneath that. So that's why I wanted to show you this, because if we come down here and get into this 68.08.75, we want to see it immediately reclaim 13.50. Obviously buy it at that point. Get back above 22, get back above 32, etc. But, as long as they hold this and we start to get back above daily supports on the way up, we will continue to move higher. Obviously, this is the 68.05, right? So 68.05, get back above 13, get back above 22, right? And walk it up. So that's how we play the progression side of this, and that's how we're going to play it coming this week. Now, again, underneath 68.05, shit gets super real fast. And yes, we could come down here and we could clean up these singles that we talked about in the weekly and play the 88.50 and still gas it and go. That's possible. But again, being under the 05 is very dangerous. I would really want to see this get reclaimed before I got super excited about buying. And then obviously we have the 67.65, 61.75 area. Also a big ETH weekly as well at 68. I think this whole area can play. Even looks like I have a TPO ledge here marked, which means that there was some serious stacked weekly TPO blocks, which represent an area of support to me. So I do like this area if we come down here. I actually like this area a little bit more than the 88, okay? But again, all this has to hold, and we got to get back above 05. That's really what it comes down to. So that's what I got for ES. Obviously, it's pretty clear from the upside perspective here that we need to get back above the 83 weekly that we've talked about 1,000 times, right? And ultimately the daily at 91.25. If that happens, I don't think we have any untested support at all until new all-time highs, which is essentially the same daily area that we've looked at on SPX quite a few times, right? So, all this shit's tested. So with that being said, right now we're still moving up, and we're still cruising, and there's no reason to look for any other way but long. So I hope that helps you guys out. That was a super detailed weekend review. We've talked about VIX, ES, and SPX. This should give you a clear picture of the do's and don'ts and where things go south. So I hope that you guys are all enjoying your weekend, and I look forward to seeing you guys on Monday for the post-market breakdown. And also on Tuesday, I will see my subscribers bright and early for the trade plan review. Also, hang on. I'm getting ready to put out a post. I made a sick-ass indicator that has to do with our 80% rule. It's going to be exclusive for Substack subscribers. So look for that post later this afternoon. Shoot me a DM from Substack. I'll get you activated. You're going to love it. It's awesome. So talk to you guys soon. Have a good one, and see you tomorrow. Cheers.